There's some proposed rules changes, and this could really impact the way the game is played. We wanted to have an interesting, we hope it's going to be interesting. We think it will be. With our next guest, his name is Thomas Pagel. He's the Senior Director of Rules and Amateur Status for the USGA, and his head was probably spinning as he heard the way I play golf. But for those who are actually good and care, he can tell us what's happening here. Thomas, how are you, man? Tiki and Tierney, what's going on, buddy?
I'm doing well, guys. Hey, thanks for having me today. And you know what? I love your story. Get out there and play golf. Just have some fun. That's what it's all about.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, life is hard. Kids are screaming, things to pay for. Listen, I'm out there. It's hard enough. I didn't start playing when I was 3. I started playing after college. If I break 90, I'm thrilled. I cannot follow all these rules. But it seems as if you guys are real. Well, you're obviously the big initiative to change the way the rules, I guess, to make it less confusing, number one, and also just make it a little more practical and a little easier, I guess. So these include reduction of ball moving penalties and relaxed putting greens rules. First of all, the impetus behind these proposed changes, besides the obvious, what has motivated you guys to really pursue this stuff?
Sure, and just so your listeners are aware, I mean, we govern the game worldwide with our partner at the RNA, who are based out of St. Andrews, and together we write the rules for all golfers everywhere. So whether it's professional, amateurs, the weekend recreational golfers, we all play under the same set of rules. Those rules are updated every 4 years, and about it was a little over 4 years ago, we had a meeting with our partners at the RNA, and we just looked at the rule book and we said, man, these things have become complex. They're dense. They're written in a very legalistic manner. They're hard to follow, even if you do want to try and follow them. And so we need to fix that. We need to make them so they're easier to understand, easier to apply, more intuitive, perhaps less stringent on some penalties. But more importantly, let's also write them and deliver them in a manner that's clear. So you as a golfer, as you're looking for an answer, when you get into that book, you can actually get what you're looking for as opposed to trying to decipher some legalistic terms. So it's really a twofold objective there.
Thomas, how much of the rule book do you think is read by the everyday golfer?
I've never read it once.
Like BT. Like, again,
I've never read it once.
I've never read it, but I kind of know some of the rules. I know what I'm not supposed to do. I'm not supposed to ground my club when I'm in the bunker type of thing.
Do it anyway.
But exactly. How many people do you actually think read the rules as you guys now have rewritten them?
I would say that under today's current rules, it's tough for somebody to get in there and dive in and want to read the book. Tiki, what I think you see is golfers, because again, golfers inherently, there's this desire for a lot of golfers. They want to play by the rules.
Yeah.
What we're finding is they'll jump in, they'll do a quick search, whether it's through an app or through a website to find their answer. But they're just in and out real quick. And as part of these proposed changes, one of the things we're looking at with the writing and delivery is the creation of what we're calling a Player's Edition. And this is a book that is only going to contain the most common rules. So when you go out and you play with your buddies on a Saturday, everything that you could need to know will be in that one publication. It's going to be written in very plain and modern terms so that, again, you want to find your answer, you can get to it quickly, understand it, and keep going.
So that obviously is a lot of the motivation, if not all of it, and is trying to attack the pace of play issue, which obviously plagues the game.
Yeah, that's part of it. One of our, again, the objectives from day one has been how can the playing rules help support broader objectives with pace of play being number one. Obviously, it's a big issue for our industry. And so you look across the changes that we could possibly make to help golfers keep moving forward and play a little quicker. Little things like committees now can mark areas of trees and tall grass as a hazard, so if a player's ball is lost in there, they can just take lateral relief, drop, and keep moving forward. Taking the time of ball search from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Not penalizing you if you happen to move your ball during search. I mean, all these little changes together, we think will impact pace of play. Another one, leave the flagstick in the hole when you putt. Currently, that's a 2-stroke penalty if you happen to hit the flagstick. We're all optimists as golfers, so if you have that 30-foot putt, you're going to walk forward 30 feet to take it out just so you don't get a 2-stroke penalty.
Yeah, but you know what? But here's the thing. To me, and listen, I ignore, not the obvious rules, but I try to adhere to listen, I'm not out there taking 12 extra shots a day, but I am pretty liberal. But you're a clown if you leave the flagstick in the hole. Even I can admit that. Take the freaking flagstick out. Give yourself it just visually looks more appealing. That shouldn't be a hard idea. That shouldn't be too tough, right?
The scenario would be, though, if you and I are playing and you're down in the greenside bunker and you're still cleaning up, raking that bunker, and I've got a 30 or 40-foot putt.
Uh-huh.
Do I really want to walk forward or need to walk forward that 30 or 40 feet of the outside chance that I'm actually going to make that putt? Leave it in there. Go ahead and putt up. If you hit the flagstick and you make it, fantastic.
Yeah.
No reason to penalize you 2 strokes. If you don't miss it, hopefully you got it close, and as you walk up to finish up, you can pull it out at that point.
Yeah, that's it. You can just mark it and then pull it out. I got you. Thomas Pagel with us here, Senior Director of Rules and Amateur Status for the USGA. They're tweaking a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
He's with us here on Tiki.
Now, you mentioned these are rule changes. They're not just for us slappies around here, but is this for the professionals as well? Is there going to be a significant reaction from them, or is this helping them so much that they're thanking you all?
Tiki, as we set out on this, we actually considered all golfers. So again, this impacts amateurs and professionals. And as we started the discussions, we have a great working relationship with our partners across the professional tours. So they've been involved literally since day one. We've been doing this hand in hand. And then again, as the project moved further and further along, we cast that net a little bit wider and we started talking to players and started getting opinions from other folks. That way, when we got to today, where we're ready to preview these rules that'll take effect in 2019, there really wasn't going to be any great surprises. There's always going to be players that like certain aspects and don't like other aspects, and that's okay. And we're starting what we call a feedback period. So for the next 6 months, we actually want to engage the golf community at all levels and have them read the resources that are available at USGA.org, and then come back and let us know what they think. So we want to hear opinions on both sides. We think that's healthy. We think ultimately the end product for 2019 will be better for it.
Do you think there's one rule or two or a few that are going to be pain points? You anticipating any kind of backlash?
There are a couple that are not going to be popular, a couple that people are going to have to get used to.
Such as?
There's a new proposal for how you drop a golf ball, so it's no longer you don't have to hold it at shoulder height. You can hold it as low to the ground as you want, as long as that ball falls through the air. And the reason for that is dropping a ball from shoulder height is pretty simple. But we have all these rules that once the ball hits the ground, if it does one of these 9 things, right, then you have to do the process over again. And so you look at all the exceptions and just the density of the text of the current rules. We just said, let's eliminate all that complexity. Let's just say, you know what, player, here's the area where you're going to get relief. Just drop the ball. We don't care from what height. Just drop the ball, get it in that area, and keep playing.
And Thomas, I couldn't do this, even though Lord knows I tried. But there's a subtlety before this revision, takes grip here, and you would drop it from the shoulder. Isn't there a way to subtly kind of almost flip the ball that, in theory, gives you a better chance at a better lie?
Anytime you drop the ball, even if you were to spin it a little bit, there's still a randomness for what happens when that ball hits the ground, and that's one of the things we wanted to maintain. So even if you're dropping it from just above the grass, that ball is going to settle down in the rough. You never know exactly what lie you're going to get. Yeah. So it's one of those things. Again, let's remove the complexities. Let's just get a simple procedure in play, and let's. Because again, it's all about getting the ball on the ground and just play the game of golf.
So you guys are doing this in tandem. You mentioned this before. R&A, obviously out in Scotland, and now golf was invented. Was it 1400 in Scotland? What year roughly?
It was in, I believe, the 1400s. With the first rules being drafted in 1744.
Okay, you know what? Good. You beat me with my second question. So 1744, and you mentioned before, Thomas, that every 4 years the rules are up for review, and you have a couple of tweaks and modifications. In your estimate, even if it's not an exact number, but I'm sure you can give us something close to it, when the rule book or the rules of golf were initially written in 1744, today, what percentage of those rules still encompass the book?
So that's an interesting question, because that first code in 1744 was really just for a single competition on a single golf course. So it was really just a set of local rules.
Okay.
And throughout the early history, you saw that each club was drafting their own set of local rules, a lot of which were similar to one another, but some of which were different. Mm-hmm. And then 1800s codes came together that brought some consistency between the clubs. I would say if you were to look at the original 13 rules of 1744 to the rules of today, the principles, I would say probably 80% of the principles are still part of the game today.
Okay, that's to your point. Yeah, you had to modify this. It's ridiculous. I mean, this stuff's written in the 1800s. Come on.
Now, hey, Thomas, the rules fall from 34 to 24. What was eliminated?
Oh, well, Tiki, that was really a result of a reorganization as well. So it's tough to pinpoint one or two rules that were eliminated.
I hear you.
There were a lot of penalties that were eliminated. I'll give you an example of one rule that's just now gone, and that's touching your line of putt. I mean, now under today's rules, when you're on the putting green, you can't walk up and down your line of putt. If you do, you're penalized. We stepped back and we looked at it and we said, why? I mean, you're not improving anything by walking up and down your line of putt. The rules actually have 7 exceptions where we say you can't go on your line of putt unless you're doing this. Let's just eliminate all of that. So that entire rule goes away. You can walk up and down your line of putt all day under these proposed rules.
But I've seen, and maybe it's just because it's part of it, I've seen Mickelson does this quite a bit, where say if he's got a 25-foot putt, I've seen him actually walk to what would equate to half of that, so roughly 12 and a half, 13 feet, and he almost simulates the putt from that angle because he's now, he in his mind and his eye, he's now figuring out the second part of the break. So he does. Is it just because it's not the entire length of the putt that he walked?
So, and that's one of the challenges with the current rule is that the line of putt is the line you want to take plus a reasonable extension on either side, but the rules don't really define reasonable extension.
Yeah.
So what Bill is doing is okay under today's rules, but it does call to question about, well, is he really close to his line? Is he on that reasonable extension? And frankly, it just creates conversations that we don't even need to be having. That rule goes away.
Now you get people calling from wherever, Timbuktu, saying, hey, I just saw Phil Mickelson. He walked up his line of putt. He cheated.
It's ridiculous.
If
I'm playing with Phil, and it's Augusta, and say, I know he's really tight with Fowler, so I can see them actually having this conversation. Not that they would, but just imagine. And Phil hits a 6-iron on, I don't know, par. Well, for him, a 6-iron. He hits an 8-iron on a 183-yard, slightly downwind par 3, whatever. And Eddie pures it, and Ricky says, what'd you hit there, the 7 or the 8, or the 8 or the 9? It is illegal, if I have this, I might be wrong, but isn't it illegal to actually exchange club selection with your playing partners? Is that true?
That's true, and that will continue to be the case. And well, the reason for that is you look at a tournament. I mean, you mentioned the Masters, but you could look at any tournament, and it's not just Ricky and Phil that are playing. You could have up to 155 other players on the golf course, and so the rules are there to protect the other golfers in the field. So when you're out there, it's you and your caddy.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I got it. I hear you.
I think, did we lose him?
I don't know if we did.
No.
Sorry.
No. I was actually saying that makes sense, but I want to hear the end of it. Go ahead, definitely.
No. So again, the rules, as you look at stroke play, one of the founding principles is they're there to protect the rest of the field. So it's you against another 155 players, and you're limited to your caddy, you're limited to your equipment, and the other guys you're playing with, they're left to themselves as well.
Nice. Thomas, I played a round at Baltusrol with Nick Faldo, but BT has heard this story.
Oh, yeah.
The caddy told him the wrong distance, so he pulled out an 8-iron or whatever it was. He was way at the back. I was like, what'd you hit there? And he told me. And so I used a shorter club.
This is the hole you beat him, right?
I took it. So I hit it, about 3 feet from the cup. He had a 30-foot putt to make to hold, honors. He couldn't. He missed it. I made my birdie. He said, "Oh, you got the tee." It made my life. So I asked. I broke the rules, but I took the tee from Nick Faldo.
Nick, that unethical.
The end of the story was the most important, and that is that you made the putt. So
exactly.
Good job.
Exactly.
Hey, by the way, Thomas, we got 3 rules for you. 3 more proposals so when this is done in 4 years, let's implement this. You ready?
Yep.
All right, make the hole bigger, make the fairways wider, and add an extra cart girl on each 9. All right. Good.
I'll see what I can do on all those.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Appreciate you.
This is good. A lot of nuance with the game of golf, and it's paralyzing sometimes. And nobody, a lot of us hacks really don't care. So this is obviously at the highest level important. But for us weekend grinders, I think this was pretty cool. Thanks for the time, Thomas. We appreciate it.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Be good.